For nearly 2 decades, the Saw franchise has remained one of the most recognizable and influential horror series ever created. From its shocking twists to its complex timeline, the series has constantly kept audiences guessing. At the center of this terrifying universe is the mastermind known as John Kramer, better known as the infamous Jigsaw Killer. His philosophy about testing people's will to live has driven the story of every Saw movie. But after the release of Saw X, fans around the world began asking one major question: will Saw 11 finally be the last game? To understand the future of the Saw franchise, we need to go back to where everything began. When the original Saw movie was released in 2004, it completely changed the horror genre. Directed by James Wan and written by Lee Hwanel, the film introduced audiences to a new kind of horror story. Instead of focusing only on violence, Saw built its tension around psychological traps and moral choices. Victims were forced to make impossible decisions if they wanted to survive. This concept made the movie stand out from other horror films at the time and quickly turned it into a massive success. As the franchise continued with multiple sequels, the story of Jigsaw became more complicated. Each new film added another layer to the timeline, revealing hidden connections between characters and showing how John Kramer's influence continued even after his death. What made the series unique was the idea that Jigsaw himself did not see his actions as murder. In his mind, he was giving people a chance to appreciate their lives by forcing them to confront their mistakes. Over time, the Saw movies became famous for their elaborate traps. Each film introduced new devices designed to test the victim's survival instincts. These traps were not only terrifying, but also symbolic. Many of them reflected the sins or mistakes of the people caught inside them. This moral aspect gave the franchise a deeper story than many other horror series. However, as the timeline grew more complex, the franchise also faced new challenges. Some fans felt that later sequels became too confusing or relied too heavily on shocking twists. Others wondered whether the story of Jigsaw had already reached its natural conclusion. When Saw X was released, it surprised many viewers by returning to the darker, character-focused storytelling that made the original movie so powerful. In fact, Saw X was widely praised for bringing the franchise back to its roots. Instead of focusing only on elaborate traps, the film explored the emotional side of John Kramer's story. For the first time in years, audiences were able to see more of the man behind the Jigsaw identity. This renewed interest in the character helped the movie perform well and sparked discussions about what could happen next. Now, attention has shifted toward the possibility of Saw 11. Many fans believe that the next movie could serve as the final chapter of the franchise. Ending a long-running horror series is never easy, but it can also create an opportunity to deliver one last, unforgettable story. If Saw 11 truly becomes the final game, it would need to answer several important questions that have been building throughout the series. One of the biggest mysteries involves the legacy of John Kramer. Even though the character died earlier in the timeline, his influence continues through followers and apprentices who carry on his philosophy. Over the years, several characters have taken inspiration from Jigsaw's methods, creating new traps and continuing his work. If Saw 11 decides to close the story completely, it may finally reveal what happens to this legacy. Another possibility is that the film could focus on the consequences of Jigsaw's actions. The Saw franchise has always explored themes of justice, morality, and redemption. Some victims survive their traps and learn from the experience, while others fail to escape. A final chapter could examine whether John Kramer's twisted philosophy actually achieved the change he believed in. There is also the question of how the franchise might evolve if the story continues beyond Saw 11. Horror series often reinvent themselves with new characters or new interpretations of the original concept. Even if the next movie ends John Kramer's story, the idea of psychological survival games could still inspire future films set in the same universe. But for many fans, the real appeal of the Saw franchise has always been the mind-bending twists. Every movie includes a shocking reveal that changes how the audience understands the story. If Saw 11 becomes the final installment, viewers will expect a twist that connects the entire series together in a surprising way. This kind of ending could transform the movie into a powerful conclusion for one of the most iconic horror franchises ever made. After years of complex timelines and shocking revelations, the final game could finally bring the entire story full circle. Of course, the future of the franchise will depend on how audiences respond to the next chapter. If fans continue to show strong interest, studios may decide to explore spin-offs or new stories within the Saw universe. But even if the main storyline eventually comes to an end, the impact of the series on the horror genre will remain undeniable. The Saw movies helped redefine what horror could be, combining psychological tension, moral dilemmas, and unforgettable twists into a unique cinematic experience. From the first shocking reveal in the original film to the evolving legacy of Jigsaw's deadly games, the franchise has kept audiences on edge for years. And now, as the possibility of Saw 11 approaches, fans are once again preparing to enter the world of traps, secrets, and impossible choices. Whether it becomes the final chapter or just another step in the ongoing story, one thing is certain. When the next game begins, the rules of survival will once again be tested. Because in the world of Saw, every choice matters, and every game has consequences.